Well, Burn, it's that part of the episode again.
Our thank yous.
Oh, we're so lovely. No, the people who are lovely are the Patreons.
The Patreons we want to give a quick shout out to, because without you we wouldn't be able to record this high quality podcast.
And my God, it's high quality. But not only that, but the Patreons, they also make the show better for other listeners as well, which is awesome.
Absolutely. So we'd really like to send a shout out to Craig Porter,
Kevin Turman,
Jess Menendez,
Sarah Talk Podcast,
Brandon Zier,
Frank Aleknowitz,
Cheese Dick McDouche Esquire.
Ooh. And Cameo Winnets. Guys, thank you so much. Your support is amazing. We wouldn't be able to do the show without you. We wouldn't
Really able to branch out with new equipment, new guests, and we're able to reach a brand new audience, all because of you.
Yes.
I'd also like to just do a special shout out to Emma, who keeps trying to join the online Facebook group, which you get as a benefit of becoming a Patreon. No, Emma, you can't join until you go onto Patreon first.
Just pay the fucking $2, Emma. That's all we're asking. You're not going to get in the Sci-gasm group unless you pay the fucking $2 on Patreon. Thanks.
Hey, Wade, welcome home, buddy.
Jesus.
Didn't hear you come in.
Christ, how the fuck did you get in here?
What do you mean? I've been in here for, while you've been away, I've been taking care of the place for you.
Burn, the place is messier than I left. Like, what the hell have you done? There's plates still in the sink. There's a shit in the corner.
Mate, just calm yourself, all right? That's not my mess, okay? A lot of this mess is Destiny and Glitters.
Who are Wait.
Hello.
Who are Destiny and Glitter, and what the hell is going on?
Well, Destiny and Glitter have been helping us out with the podcast. We can afford new mics now.
Are they scientists?
No, they're really just for fundraising.
Okay, and why are they in my apartment?
Well, to raise funds.
How are you raising... What? Is that a red light outside of our studio room?
Well, let's just say that you didn't just go to Amsterdam. Everyone in your apartment complex went to Amsterdam as well, eh?
Oh my God.
Mate, we can afford new mics. We might be even able to afford a camera from this.
I'd go on one trip.
Anyway, look, they've decided to take a bit of time, so they charge by the hour. So right now, Sci-gasm's losing money. Let's get to this episode ASAP.
Let's get to it.
How hard this was to research and try and sound really like I was doing work. I don't know
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Wade, how you feeling? Cleared up the place? It's looking pretty spiff and span now.
Yeah, still a bit jet lagged, but hey, you know, we've got new cars, new fur coats. You know, Sci-gasm now has its own building, so...
Check out this chain, right?
Oh, wow, that's a lot of bling.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, things are going really well for us at the moment. We've quit our jobs and we're just doing the podcast now full time, being pimp daddies.
That's a lie. Please get onto Patreon and sponsor us.
Yes, we need your help with Patreon.
Oh, dear. But yeah, you've been away for a solid month now. How was your trip, mate?
The journey was awesome, man. We did a whole bunch of stuff that I've always wanted to do, like saw so many amazing things. I went to the Natural History Museum in London, did a lot of like World War II kind of...
God, you're
based
boring.
tours.
Anyway, what we were going to do this episode on... You've been away for a solid month, so I want to do an episode on the greatest science journeys. You inspired me by going away, so while I was at home sitting in this sweltering heat in my boxer shorts with a new baby vomiting all over me, I decided to do some research on the greatest journeys in science history.
Yeah, see, that's a difference between your trip, like your time and my time, is that I was like in Amsterdam with chicks vomiting on me, so...
Yeah.
So our lives weren't that different.
I hope those chicks are substantially older than the one that's vomiting on me.
Very much like that. Yeah, okay, great. Well, that's fantastic. And hopefully, you know, being an experienced traveller like myself, I might be able to put my, 2 cents in.
I think so. I don't know if we go to any places that you might have been to here. They're a bit out there, but
No.
I would love to hear some of your perspectives on this. We do talk about some classics. What about you? What do you think's the classic, famous science trip?
Famous
science journey.
So, it's from just in general science, obviously the Beagle.
The Beagle. It's my favourite. So close to my heart.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're talking about that.
That's the one we're starting with.
Okay. I think as well, personally, because everyone's looking at like a subjective kind of thing. I like the Apollo 13 mission where they kind of had to go around the moon and come back. Also as well, that one, I can't remember what it's called. It's that Skywalker guy, and he goes and destroys the Death Star to save the rebels. That's an amazing journey as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing journey. Good shot too.
Yeah,
I don't know how science related it was. I
Lost
think that's
his
science
hand
fiction.
during the journey too. It was incredible.
Yeah?
Like, I don't know what happened to him. I think he lives on an island now or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Some loser loner. Usually
Yeah.
that's what happens. People go traveling and just become like all alternative,
Apparently
hitting bongos.
fucking made out with his sister or something.
Ew, what a creep. Yeah, that's people do get so weird after
Killed his
traveling.
dad. Ended up killing his dad.
Oh, that's fucked up. That's messed up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no, I haven't got that one in there. I noticed you've got a brand new earring as well. Have you gone all bohemian since you've been traveling?
Nah, just a big fan of Johnny Depp and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, okay. You got a compass tattoo? Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah, I do.
You do have a fucking Thomas tattoo. I'm worldly. I
Yeah.
get tattoos.
I do. I've also got a tattoo of the world as well, just to be real wanky.
Okay, so you're going through famous scientific journeys. I'm
Best
assuming.
journeys, and I
Okay,
really
the
would
best
like to
journeys.
start with the Beagle because that for me is an amazing journey. You know, that
Charles
was
Darwin. Yeah.
yeah, the
okay,
Beagle. But the Beagle was originally like a map making tour. It was there to map the oceans around the east coast of South America and some of the other
Wow,
trade
okay.
routes of England. And then Charles Darwin actually paid his way to get onto the Beagle. Said, "Look, I'd like to chuck you guys some cash to fund this trip, and I'd also like to come along and do my own research." And they were like, "You're a pretty rich dude. Sure, jump on board."
Okay. Well, yeah, he came from a very. His wife was wealthy.
Oh, his whole family was
His
pretty
whole family.
wealthy.
Well,
Yeah, they're all wealthy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because that's why scientists use such noble words like hypothesis and stuff like that, and the language in scientific papers and reports.
Because they were better than everyone.
Because they were better than everyone, and they kind of spoke of a greater class, kind of.
And then there's the modern day scientists like us that swear maybe a little too much. And
Yeah, we try and communicate smart people's kind of findings
Ideas
and stuff
using
like
dick
that.
jokes.
Using dick jokes and stuff like that. So that's good. That's good.
bringing
But,
science to the people.
That's it. Bringing science to the people.
We're
and-
like Robin Hood, but for scientists.
yes, except a lot more swear words. Yeah. Okay,
Right.
so the HMS Beagle. Okay.
HMS Beagle left in 1831. Charles Darwin was only 21 when he boarded this vessel.
Wow.
Or 22. 21, 22. I can't remember the exact birthday and the exact date I left, but one of
Could have
those.
said approximately 21.
Pretty young. Approximately 21, 22. So pretty fucking young. Now, I said before, like he did, he paid his way to get onto the thing. Now, this Beagle actually went all over the world. Like, it not only went to the Americas, it went past Africa. Not many people know it. Obviously went to the Galapagos Islands, but not many people know it actually went to Haiti, New Zealand, and Australia as well.
We named a town or a city.
The Northern Territory's
Michael.
capital
Yeah,
is
Northern Territory's capital.
named for him. Called
Yeah.
Darwin, just in
Darwin,
case.
which
It's not
is
called
cool.
Charles. Yeah.
Not called Charles, yes.
Now, apparently, this is one thing I find amazing. So, the Beagle took about 6 years to do its journey. They didn't get back till 1836, so 5-6 years they were on this boat. Apparently, Darwin was a terrible sailor. Like, he was constantly seasick during the whole 5-year journey.
Oh, God.
So, whenever they made landfall, he was like, I'm off for a few days. Can you pick me up over here? I'm going to go and do some collecting. So, he was always pretty keen to get off the boat and go and collect samples.
Wow, it must have been a big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a ship. Oh, I thought it was like
Huge dog.
I thought it was like the Never-Ending Story. And everyone just wrote a beagle like that.
HMS Beagle. I don't know why they named it a Beagle. It's a pretty shit name for a boat, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's
It's unthreatening, though,
beagles
perhaps.
I'm assuming if they named it after a dog, who knows?
Yeah, it was probably
But,
named
like,
some guy named Beagle,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. Or
Maybe the sails were really big and floppy and hung over the sides.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why they named it Beagles, but anyway.
Quality science communication going on.
We're not talking about the Beagle, we're talking about the journey.
Yes,
Do you remember the name of the fucking plane you flew to Europe in?
A3880.
Oh, that was the model.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Qatar Airlines.
There's a plug. We expect some money coming in from Qatar soon. Now, Darwin on his trip actually collected literally thousands of samples.
I
Thousands
saw
and
some in
thousands.
the Natural History Museum. His
Yeah?
pigeons, yes.
Yeah, his
Yes.
pigeons. He collected pigeons while he was traveling as well, did he?
Oh, no, it's just his pigeons. They just said his
I know he got
pigeons.
into pigeoning and stuff later on
Yeah.
in his life, but he collected they literally had to send his samples, and it wasn't just animals. He also collected plant samples and fossils, and he was quite into geology as well. So he literally had thousands of samples from from all over the world. He had to send them back by the barrel load. He sent barrels back to the
Oh,
UK.
my God.
Like, that is a pretty pedantic collector there. Oh, another barrels. Imagine being the guy he's sending it to. Oh, you've got another barrel from Charles Darwin. Fuck's sake, this fucking
Imagine
guy.
how much that stink.
Apparently he was a taxidermist as well, so he's pretty good at stuffing and preserving
so
this shit.
taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking Jesus. But to give you an idea, right? So the first about 2-3 years after leaving England, it took them to get to the bottom of South America. So they went a little bit in the northwest coast of Africa, 2 to 3 years to get to the bottom of South America.
Yeah.
Now the Galapagos, where he had his epiphany, is sort of like up the west coast of South America. Now, going up that west coast of South America, Darwin got pretty sick. Most of the time he got sick, and it wasn't just seasickness. He got some sort of Montezuma's revenge or some other tropical disease, probably at the time unknown. But, you know, I'm assuming some of my friends who have been to South America are probably unsurprised by the fact that he got sick traveling through the tropics in South America.
I think they're probably really surprised that he didn't get an STI.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know about that, actually. He seemed like a bit of a weirdo, Newton-esque when I read about
He did have sex with his cousin.
Yeah. I think that was more of a convenience thing than anything else as well.
Maybe.
Yeah, anyway, that's another story for another day.
Yeah, why go out on a weekend when you get a family reunion?
Oh, Jesus. It really would save money on the family reunion, though. Keep it nice and tight.
Yeah, it's like you just have one side of the family to the wedding.
Father's side or mother's side? Oh, it doesn't matter.
It's the same.
I don't know. It's just no column. It's just down the middle, a row of seats.
It's just everyone's on one side. Just
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Yes, this episode's going great.
So now we've gone from bountiful travels to having sex with your cousin.
So did Darwin.
Well, he did do that, but he did some more amazing things. Like his travels, think about spending
you have a
2
sister?
years. He did. He had 3 sisters. They were all older, though, so...
Quite frankly, if you're going to have sex with your cousin, I wouldn't put anything past
Mind you, it's true. My mates who have hot sisters, they're all older. Yeah.
know what that's even to me.
Your eyes were judging me then. I could see them.
So,
Oh, dear. Now, like, during his travels, this is just going down the East Coast. 2 to 3 years going down that East Coast to South America before he turned around and started heading up the West Coast. During his time going up the West Coast, around the Andes, that area of South America, he was in a massive earthquake as well. So he spent all his time traveling around the rainforest of South America, meeting tribes, gets an earthquake. He's gotten sick a few times. He's had to go into like the equivalent of hospital back then in South America, which is probably some old lady dancing around you, whipping you with certain vines and stuff. Massive assumption on my part there.
I was about to say, you've just completely written off all these different South American cultures by saying it's an old lady whipping you with a vine.
Well, no, I haven't written them off. I'm assuming a lot of them were wiped out by American, Spanish and new American white Europeans coming there. So I'm not ripping them off, for they don't exist anymore, you know?
You just said that the way they...
I said it was an assumption.
Oh, that's borderline racist.
Some sort of witch doctor or something. I don't know. It was a while ago. Who knows? Charles Darwin didn't ever really get better. Anyway, it wasn't until about 1835, which is about 3.5 years after he left the UK, that he actually...
Like podcast has gone for 3.5 years.
It's because someone will shut the fuck up and listen. It was 3.5 years it took before he actually got to the Galapagos. Now think about that. All that trip going through South America, seeing all these different animals, all these different fossils. He's been to the Falkland Islands during this time. He's been to Africa. So he's seen a whole range of different animals. He starts going like, why are these different animals in all these different environments? It was 3.5 years till he got to the Galapagos, till he had that light bulb moment where he clicked on, he started to come up with his ideas behind natural selection.
Wow,
the mechanism behind evolution. So after that 3.5 years, he spent a bit of time at the Galapagos, went and looked at they surveyed all of the islands around the Galapagos, and he went, holy shit, there's totally some sort of natural selection going on here. After that, they went across the Pacific. He headed westwards, and he went to Tahiti, New Zealand, and Australia. Woo! By that stage, he was getting pretty homesick. Like, he breezed through those. When you consider how much time he spent around South America and stuff, to go to Tahiti, New Zealand, Australia, he just went, yeah, fuck this place, I'm out, it's boring.
Okay.
But apparently when he did get to Australia, though, I like this, he said that he thought God must have had 2 attempts at creation, because he saw the Australian animals and he was like, what the fuck are these things?
Yeah.
They were so different to anything else he'd seen. So his logic was God tried creation twice. He went, oh, that was a bit of a fuck up. We'll just put that down the bottom end of the world. Yeah. I think he was using hyperbole and figure of speech, like in his origin book. Great book. I just got a bit of a semi then.
It is. I've got it, actually. Believe it or not, I have a biology book.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Have you read it
yet?
yet?
Biology books, actually. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, here it is. Now, going around, so this is 3.5 years he spent on a boat, right? he's going down. He's gone through Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti in about 2 more months, and he's headed around. Then he hits over and he hits Madagascar. He goes around the southern tip of Africa as well. So he's gone through Africa, Madagascar. He's been to pretty much all of the major continents except for the North American continent. And even then, it's sort of, maybe you could count Central America. Before he gets back to the UK, he spent about 5-6 years traveling this. Get this, he traveled 65,000 kilometers by boat. And this guy wasn't a sailor. Imagine being prevalent to seasickness and traveling 65,000 kilometers by boat.
Oh, God.
He crossed the equator 3 times during that time as well. And by the time he got back to England, because there would have been no way of him to really know what people in England were perceiving him. They would have got some indication that, yeah, your samples are going pretty good. When he got back to England, he was a legit celebrity. Like, everyone knew him. All the stuff he got sent back, they were a big deal because there was all these animals no one had seen from all over the world. This was a big deal, and science was really starting to hit its straps about then as well. Darwin was a celebrity. That was in 1836 he got back.
Wow.
So 5 years of travelling. It took him another 23 years before he wrote On the Origin of Species.
Yeah, he delayed it because was it personal reasons he delayed it, or?
Well, there was a few things. He wasn't really sure about how well it would be received. He was sort of always doubtful of himself as well. There was a lot of other research because he was such a celebrity. He was busy. Everyone wanted to work with him all of a sudden. You know, he was getting sent other papers. He published a few little things, and only after another guy started to stumble across this idea, Alfred Russel Wallace.
Yep.
Yeah, well done. Did he go, all right, maybe we should publish. And one of his friends pushed him to publish. Go, look, this guy's come up with the same ideas that you've got. Maybe you should publish because he'll claim the idea, otherwise it'll be his. And in the end, they became mates.
BBC have a really good series on that. It's called Creation, I think it's called. And it's about the Charles Darwin story and stuff like that. And yeah,
really interesting character.
Yeah,
really interesting character.
They kind of, I'm not sure the accuracy of it, but they make it out as if he had a little bit of trouble dealing with like his discoveries, especially when his daughter was so sick.
Yeah,
and coming to terms with him really screwing his cousin.
Yeah, there was quite a few things where he was quite torn. It was
took the kids out of
classic scientist almost,
took his
full
kids,
of doubts.
Yeah, he took his kids out of the local Anglican school, religious school, and put them into the public sector. Yeah, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I reckon that for me is the greatest journey that any scientist has ever taken.
Well, I guess that's the end of the episode because it must be downhill from here.
It's all downhill from here, honestly. But I've got a couple more which I thought might be a bit more appropriate for other people.
It is incredible, though, that like you look at, with Darwin publishing that and how his own personal journey of dealing with, the idea of God, and obviously it turned him into somewhat of an atheist.
Yeah, we've heard it was like confessing to a murder.
Yeah, and he was very hesitant in releasing his findings because of the backlash from the church, the local community. Fair enough, because we still get those backlashes today, don't we? Yeah, exactly. We are the modern day Charles Darwin here at Sci-gasm.
I was talking we as the royal we as scientists, not you and I.
No. Us at Sci-gasm.
Us,
we are Charles Darwin.
I'm the Chuck, you're the Darwin, is that right?
Yep. You're the part that has sex with the cousins. I'm the part that goes out and explores.
Yeah. Look at you Antipodeans. Right, now the next travel I think is amazing. And I wanted to put it in there because I don't think we often plug that we're Australian, but I don't think we ever really push the great findings that Australians have come up with. And the one guy I want to talk about is Sir Douglas Mawson. You remember hearing about him back in the school days?
Nope.
Okay. Well, take a knee. Okay. Douglas Mawson, he was famous for exploring Antarctica. Now that is really, if you think about the modern world, that is really one of the last, or one of the final frontiers on Earth. The really sort of areas that still belong to the wild. I was watching a
documentary the other night.
Star Trek is not a documentary, Wade. I keep telling you. Okay. Klingons aren't real.
Just a little bit off topic here. Have you been watching Star Trek Discovery?
I have, but I haven't seen the latest couple of episodes. I think I'm about 2 or 3 behind.
Have you seen the guy who was... they're really starting to get pretty ballsy with their plots now. What happened to one of the fleet with the Klingon, one of the guys?
Oh, where he was the lover for the Klingon?
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert, he was the lover for the Klingon?
Well, I wouldn't even call him a lover. He had PTSD.
Yeah.
He was raped by a
Klingon. you know Klingons are into rough sex, let's be honest.
Yeah, I know.
Totally.
Yeah, it would be
if you're not into that, that would be pretty...
Yeah.
I don't want to do it that way again.
Yeah. Sorry, it's completely off topic, but my God, it's like...
It is a journey in its own right, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, continue.
So back to Antarctica. Now this would have been around another cold, loveless environment. There's your segue.
There's your segue to talk about your marriage. Oh, whose marriage are we talking about? You don't know.
Clearly our wife's aren't in the other rooms today. Now, this would have been the early 1900s. The early 1900s, exploring was all the rage. You know, everyone wanted to discover something new. They were running out of places to discover. But the cool thing about Sir Douglas Mawson, and he wasn't a sir at this stage, is everyone wanted to go to the South Pole, right? Everyone would be the first person to hit the South Pole. It was really hard to get to, and they wanted to be the first guy. So Douglas Mawson was like, yeah, that'd be a cool idea. But more to the point, I'd like to go to Antarctica to do science. He was a trained scientist. He was from Sydney University as well. I think he was doing a postdoctoral there or something, and he wanted to go to Antarctica specifically for the science. So I reckon that in its own right is a fucking great idea to go on a journey.
Absolutely.
Now, because he was a trained scientist, he sort of was all about the pursuit of knowledge without really taking into account that maybe there was some exploration expertise which could have come in handy as well. Now, I'm not saying he was a bad explorer, but I'm going to go out there and say he wasn't the best explorer going around either, you know? So he knew kind of what he was doing, but Antarctica is a big mouthful to bite. So in 1911, he headed down, and he had a crew of about 31. And when they got there, the first thing I did was set up radio communications. So the reason we have radio communications in Antarctica is actually because of his expedition.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Now, that was on one of the islands on Antarctica. They got to the Antarctic mainland, and they actually set up 2 bases on it. And there was a crew to man both, and they spent about a year or so setting up and manning these 2 bases. And those 2 bases are still used today by Antarctic explorers too.
Think about the commitment it takes. Like, you look at Darwin and you look at these explorers, and just in general, like, they spend years away from home.
Years and years and years,
Like,
yeah.
you know, imagine, like, your partner going, I'm going to go away for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to go for 6 months. It's like, I'm going to go away for 5 years.
Even 6 months would be a long time, I reckon, if my wife
Yeah.
nicked off for 6 months. She might nick off for a much longer time if she listens to this episode after what we just said.
And you know whose marriage it is now.
Now, after setting up these 2 bases, which are still used today as well, sort of used today, this is the driest continent. So finding water in Antarctica is actually quite difficult. You can find ice and melt it, and then you've got water, but finding water is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Once they'd set up these bases, they had somewhere to live. They said, right, now we're going to go do the exploring thing. And this is after about a year and a half of them landing. So it's taken them a year and a half just to get to the exploration point. Okay? Now, I shouldn't laugh, but on his expedition, very early in the expedition, one of his men was lost. He fell down a crevasse. Now, the reason I kind of chuckle is because that happened to be the guy that was carrying the supplies. So,
Oh, God.
yeah, so that's pretty filthy luck. If you're going to lose one man, you'd rather it be the guy that's, I don't know.
Burn.
Yeah, I don't know, just the comic relief guy, you know.
comic
We'll bring him
relief.
along. He's a pretty good dude. You know, he'll break up those really cold nights for us. But this guy fell down a crevasse and lost most of their supplies. Okay, now because of many of the supplies were lost, that meant that the dogs they brought suddenly became more important than just sled dogs.
Yeah.
They ate them,
Oh, my God.
and because they were starving and eating dogs, there was another man that actually died as well, and they think he died of starvation and toxicity from eating dog livers. So there was a couple of people that died. This is what I'm saying. Maybe he wasn't the best explorer.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to put it out there and say, yeah, he wasn't, exactly the best.
Now, after that guy died, they took a while. They actually got lost, and he finally found his way back to the camp, back to everything again, and then realised he'd missed the boat back to Australia by a few hours. How devastating. So you get lost, and they wait for you, and then you finally get back and they leave, which meant he had to go through another winter in Antarctica in one of the bases. And there were a few people who decided to stay around in case he came back. Like, that's pretty brave as well, just to hang around in case he comes back. And then they all weathered another winter. So he was in Antarctica, bare, set up his own bases when there was nothing there. He was there for about 3 years, 3.5 years. But it gets down to like minus 80 degrees Celsius in Antarctica in some of those really bitterly cold nights.
Far out.
That's some extreme shit right
That's
there, right?
extreme.
Yeah. Hectic. Now, that is what I call a fucking amazing journey.
Almost as extreme as our efforts. Like I know before, you compared us to Charles Darwin.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's like 35 degrees in my apartment at the moment.
Yeah,
and
I'm
we're
beating-
still recording.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just-
definitely- I've got a
we
few
understand how these people feel.
Yeah.
You know,
I can feel that droplet rolling down between my ass cheeks. Strangely
People
sensual.
You've now
Yet
got
disgusting at the
thousands
same
of,
time.
You have told thousands of people that you've got. beam of sweat dripping down between your ass cheeks. They're now sitting there listening, thinking, I'm picturing
Don't
Dern.
tell me you haven't wanted thousands of people thinking about your ass, Wade. You've dreamed about it. Don't lie to me.
Dreamed or experienced.
Now these guys, so Douglas Morse was such a big deal. Okay, like he's still on the, you know who he's on the Australian $100 note.
Really?
Yeah, I can understand why you don't know him because you've probably never seen a $100 note in your life.
Oh, Mr. La-di-da, not sure, huh?
I haven't either. I was probably seen a picture of it on the internet, but that appeared. He trekked 6,500 kilometers. He walked in Antarctica. Like that is fucking impressive over
huge.
those few years. Yeah, it is. It's massive. While he was there, he collected specimens for geology. He helped cartography. That's map making for anyone who's wondering. I used to be a cartographer. He helped forward our understanding in meteorology. He also helped geomagnetism, obviously being the South Pole. And there was also biology and marine science as well, because he found specimens that had never been discovered before as well and sent them back. It's amazing. Now, to give you an idea, he collected 22 volumes of scientific reports in his time there. 22 volumes.
20? Jesus.
Not reports, 22 volumes of reports.
Wow, okay.
So he had a shitload of data.
Yeah.
That's a fucking journey right there.
That is, and especially to miss the boat by a few hours.
A few hours after you've been there for a few years. I'm so looking forward to going home.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Doug, mate. You're 3 hours shy. Just left. Can we call it? Please.
Turn around. Nah, mate.
No,
Everyone
we're
wants
here
to
for
get home
another
to their
6 months.
families, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. If you're here on time. Speaking of which, where's Timmy and Bob? Yeah. One fell down a crevasse and the other one died of starvation.
He ate our dog, so...
Yeah. Where are all the dogs? Oh, no. Yeah. That's the saddest part, all those dogs.
Yeah, I know.
All right, now this might be your favourite journey, I think.
Okay.
Well, it's not because you already said what your favourite journeys were, but it may be your second favourite.
Second favourite. My second favourite would be... I'd probably say... It'd have to be, surely, Apollo 11.
Yeah, it is. Well done.
Excellent.
Going to the moon. That is a
That
real
is
amazing journey, isn't it?
amazing,
Could you
isn't it?
imagine having that opportunity one day to be able to go to the moon and back? Fuck, I would love to do that.
Yeah, well, Savage Garden sung about it.
Yeah, to the moon and back.
Yeah, if you'd be my baby.
Yeah.
My baby, yeah.
I'll be his baby to go to the moon and back.
Yeah. Well, that's what he sung about.
That's a pretty big promise. Is he married?
He's gay, so you're in with the chance there.
Well, it's legal in Australia now, so he could be.
Yes!
Yeah.
Woo!
It's passed.
Awesome.
All right, well, let's go through this journey, okay? So it was launched July 16, 1969. It landed on the moon in July 20, so that's 4 days of travelling. How comfortable were you on the plane flying to Europe?
Oh, man, it was like terrible. It's like,
Imagine that for
what am
4
I? I'm
days.
6'2". So as you can imagine, it's a bit uncomfortable being in those bloody seats.
Yeah, it's one of the only times I'm really happy being a short person is getting on the plane and going, suck on that, everyone who's over 5'10". So imagine that for 4 days, though. Imagine dealing with that for 4 days. That's how long it took them to get to the moon.
Yeah, but they had a bit of room, though, didn't they?
A bit, you would hope so, a bit of wiggle
Yeah,
room.
they had a bit of room in there. It's not like they sat in the one seat.
I don't think they were going business class to the moon,
weren't
though.
going
Like, at the end of the
business
day, you've
class,
still got a
but-
finite amount of space you're going to have to lift
yeah, I
up. The more you
get
put
that.
on, the more heavy it's going to be
Yeah.
and more force and fuel you're going to need.
I get that, but you'd have the added excitement as if we're in fucking space, motherfuckers. And like,
Yeah, that is
floating
pretty rad.
around, like,
We're about to go to the fucking
where I'm
moon.
like sitting behind a crying baby and a dude who couldn't bloody make up his mind whether he wanted his tray up or down. It's like, well, are you going to eat, mate? Because if you're not going to fucking eat, leave it up.
Clearly, you had a fantastic flight.
Oh, it's shit. The flight home was just shit.
All right, okay, pop quiz for you then.
Yep.
Who are the 3 astronauts that went to the moon on Apollo 11?
Oh, obviously Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and fuck, I can't.
No one
believe-
ever gets this guy. I had to look him up too. Well, as soon as I knew it, as soon as I say it, you'll know too. Do you want me to give you a clue?
Yep.
M, begins with M. First name M, last name C.
MC Hammer.
Yeah, it's right.
Clark.
No. Michael
Michael
Collins.
Collins. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. Because I remember I always forget too, and I always have to look it up. And
Who's
it's
going to
just-
remember that guy? He's the guy that stayed on board and didn't get off.
Yeah, he's the one who stayed on board. And
Surely
just
he
ordered
must
the
feel
moon.
ripped off. Hey, 2 guys get out and go walk on the moon and he has to stay on board. You'd be like, fuck, Buzz, can you come back and man the thing so I can go for a walk, please?
Yeah.
As if you wouldn't feel ripped off. You get to go to the moon, everyone goes walking on the moon except for you.
Yeah, that's.
That sucks,
yeah,
right?
that's shit. Yeah.
Poor bastard. Good on him.
Well,
he's the real MVP.
But the thing is, as well, like, if you think about it, he was the least likely to die out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
he was
true.
the least likely to die out of the three of them. So if they couldn't get back up, he's going home.
Yeah.
If they ran out of oxygen, something went wrong landing, he's going home. So I don't know. But if you're going to travel that far, you want to kind of fucking walk.
Well, you and your wife planned your trip, right?
Yeah.
So these 3 people went on this trip, but it was a massive team that actually planned this trip. And I was looking at some of the details behind this. It was actually really fucking impressive. So NASA engineers put obviously together and they put the astronauts in there. And what they essentially did was build up a giant spaceship, which was basically, Lego spaceships that you can pull off and reattach to different things.
Yes, I do.
It's essentially a giant expansive Lego spaceship that you can take
awesome.
bits off and put on in space.
It's awesome.
Okay. Now, the first chance they get to go a video link was the first chance they could see all the instruments. The NASA engineers and mathematicians were so accurate that they actually scheduled for 4 corrective periods during the flight towards the moon, so they could make slight corrections. They only needed 1.
Wow.
So that's how accurate their maths were. They only need to make corrections once in their whole trip to the moon, which is pretty amazing. Hey, like that's some fucking good accuracy considering the computing back then was pretty lax.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing they did was they did a couple of orbits around the Earth, then slung off towards the moon, got wider and wider, and then they go out to the moon, and then they start
Would you like
orbiting
to
the
know
moon.
why that happens?
Yeah, sure.
Why we get a gravity assist? Okay. So the reason that you can use the slingshot effect and what they call like a gravity assist is you literally take momentum from the moon. Oh, sorry, say in this case it's the Earth. So So everything follows conservation of momentum, which follows the conservation of energy, which means that if you want to so what you literally do is how when we always calculate in physics the attraction between 2 objects, not one object doesn't attract the other one more, it's shared equally between them. So when you jump, the Earth's pulling on you as much as you're pulling on the Earth, but you're much lighter. So you got less mass, which means that obviously then you're going to go towards
pull on you,
it.
And you have a tiny pull on the Earth.
Exactly, and when you jump up in the air, it only moves infinitesimally small. You can't measure. Immeasurably small. The same thing happens with these guys when they travel around the Earth, or when satellites use the slingshot effect, because that's when you're traveling really far distances. You can't just get a rocket and just travel straight there. You need a gravity assist. So what happens is, as it goes around the Earth, it actually slows the Earth down slightly and borrows some momentum, which speeds up.
But immeasurably small
Immeasurably small amount of speed from the Earth, but because the space probe, or the ship, is so small in mass comparative to the Earth, its velocity significantly increases.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's how you actually slow down the object.
That does make a lot more sense when I read this, because when they got to the moon, they do a couple of orbits around the moon. That must be to slow them down a bit so they can launch the lander and things like that, perhaps.
Yeah, well, it also gets to a point as well. You can slow down by being... So obviously the distance you are from the center of the mass when you're orbiting, that really depends on how far you are away. There's a couple of things that determine the speed of the spacecraft, and that's the mass of the orbiting, so the thing that you're orbiting, and also the distance you are from its center. So, yeah. Fascinating.
Good little physics interlude there. Thank you, Wade.
No worries.
Now, when they...
I've got Michael Collins' name, so...
to make up
something.
Now, this is one thing I found really cool, is like every time there's a lunar mission, there's a period where they actually go behind the moon. And when they go behind the moon, it's impossible to get contact with them because the moon's in the way, You can't make radio contact around a corner. Yeah. So there's always this period where they just drop out a signal and they have no idea what's going on. That means that NASA has no idea if anything's happened to the astronauts. And if something has happened, the astronauts have no way of contacting NASA, which means they're entirely on their own. So if there is a problem, they have to fix it without an assist from Earth. Which, that would be, for me, fucking terrifying, to be honest.
Kind of in space, I think, yeah. I think the rocket launch would be most terrifying for me.
Yeah, the beginning of the launch. Yeah, that would be kind of scary, that many Gs. Although if you pass out, who cares?
Well, the whole spaceship.
Yeah.
And your crew
if you're unconscious, yeah.
Okay, can we get a bit more thrust on those rockets? Bert, hello? Why is he masturbating aggressively?
That is not the right throttle there.
It's not the right throttle. He's lost it.
Do you remember the name of the lunar module that landed there?
The Eagle has landed.
Yeah, well done, the Eagle. So that was like one of the Lego bits, was the Eagle was the module, and there's all these other parts to it.
Yeah, okay? I've got it on my shelf, my nerd shelf over there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Is it just the module, the lander?
I've got the Saturn V rocket. I've got the lunar lander.
Okay,
It's just
so
there. See next to the Daleks on the top shelf.
yeah, wakes up massive geek listeners. That's true. So now, when they landed, the Eagle landed in. Do you know where it landed?
Yes, Sea of Tranquility.
Oh, you're good at this, mate. Sea of Tranquility. Now, to give you an idea of the mass again, they landed about 6 kilometers out of where they predicted to land. And when you think about it, 6 kilometers sounds pretty fucking far. Though I did a quick calculation, and they had to travel 384,400 kilometers to get to the moon. So if you're 6 kilometers out, that's pretty fucking accurate.
Did you
I
use
reckon.
Google?
I did use Google, but I double checked it a few times too. I went to a
Okay,
few
good.
sources. No, actually, no, that's a lie. I used NASA.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's better.
I used NASA.
How
That's
much?
a lie.
What did Google
I
say the
initially used-
distance from Earth to the Sun is?
It's 15.81 light years. Now, I'm a biologist, but I was pretty confident that wasn't right. I'm like, there is no way the light hitting here took 15 fucking years to get here. That's not right at all. Anyway, like 6K's out in the Sea of Tranquility, and I can understand why you'd want to go for the Sea of Tranquility. It's a nice flat area. Now, after they'd landed, the astronauts had to sit there for 4 hours. So imagine like your plane landing and they just go, sorry, you have to stay here for 4 hours before we let you off.
Oh,
That'd be a
God,
pain in the
yeah.
ass. You'd be so keen to get off. Anyway, after 4 hours, Neil Armstrong got out and had a bit of a wander around. 20 minutes after that, Buzz Aldrin got out and had a bit of a wander around. They were walking around for about 2.5 hours or so. Okay, Buzz Aldrin got back on board first. 40 minutes after that, Neil Armstrong got back on board.
Yeah.
So they travelled for 4 days to go and walk around for about 2.5 hours on the moon, spent a bit of time on the moon before they left, after they left inside the module, and then spent 4 days flying all the way back to the Earth. So that's 8 days worth of travel for 2.5 hours of walking time.
Here's something. Do you know how they took off from the moon's surface?
With thrusters?
Yeah, but do you know what happened to the thrusters?
I have no idea what
Are
happened
you
with thrusters.
fucking kidding me? You researched this. How'd you think the most famous story of the Apollo 11 mission? So,
What do you mean?
So when they're
Go
on the
on.
moon's surface, and they're in the capsule that obviously was going to lift off, the actual switch broke, so they couldn't turn on the thrusters to launch themselves up. So they couldn't turn on the thrusters, so they actually had to use a pen to switch it on because the button broke. So the button wouldn't work, so they actually used a pen, and that switched on. So they launched from the moon using a pen.
Oh, that is a great advertisement
Yeah.
for whatever pen company sent them
Yeah,
up
exactly, yeah.
there. Yeah.
So
Someone's
there you
really
go.
got to get on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what I thought was funny is when they were out there for 2.5 hours and walked around, if the moon was a national park, these guys have fucked it up. They left so much stuff up there. Just left it behind. You're supposed to leave only footprints,
Yeah.
take only photographs. They left a shitload of photographs. They left the names of cosmonauts and astronauts who had died for, the space race,
Yeah,
following
yeah,
the
okay.
space race. They left goodwill messages from 73 countries on different things. They also left a bunch of really important people's names, people involved in the space program. They just wanted their names on the moon, which I think's a bit wanky, if I'm honest.
No,
I just
I
want
want
my
my
name
name
put up
on
there. You want your name on the moon? Oh, you wanker.
Yeah. There was an Apollo mission where they actually got a Playboy model to a little picture. That they snuck in there as a joke.
What, a nudie? So there's a
nudie,
nudie
yeah,
up
there's a
there.
nudie, yeah,
There's some
there's a-
spaceman jerking off to Earth porn up there.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, wow,
So it was a
okay.
bit weird. It's kind of like jerking off over an animal, like another animal. Just
Some animals are sexy, though, let's be honest. Don't tell me a peacock isn't sexy.
oh,
Male peacock, too.
there's anything wrong with that, but it's the fact the bestiality just.
Anyway, so after the Eagle apparently had problems with the switches and relaunched, and it reattached to the LEGO spacecraft. The LEGO spacecraft is called Columbia. They flew back to Earth, and they covered a distance of about 1.5 million kilometers by the end of this trip.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. After they'd done all their orbits and everything, 1.5 million kilometers they traveled. They splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, and they were 36 minutes late on the predicted landing time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at the way in which they calculate, landings and trajectories and all that type of stuff? It's incredible. It's not like let's just aim it towards the Earth. They have to take into account different points during the journey that they need to make. It's not just here, aim this way. It's all mathematical.
Well, that's why I thought that was an amazing journey.
Incredible.
If you think about the accuracy, to be 6 kilometers out over a almost 400,000 kilometer target,
it's definitely the best journey.
It's amazing.
Think about to go to the moon.
go to the moon is pretty amazing.
Like-
And then to be 36 minutes late when you're planning something over 9-10 days.
Yeah.
Oh, they're 36 minutes late. Gee, that's annoying. Wish they were on time.
At least they didn't turn around and go home like they did to the poor Antarctica researchers.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, they're probably not going to be here. We'll just nick off now.
Yeah. But it's interesting because they reckon that the flag that was left up there would be faded now.
Just
all
white.
that type of stuff. Yeah, just
It's like
be
Earth
white.
surrendered, so now an alien's going to arrive. And you go, oh, great. It's good to know. These guys folded before the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and like all the pictures and stuff, they reckon it'd be all because of like obviously the UV radiation, all that type of stuff. That's
Apparently, there's one picture they reckon that would have been faded, but the guy signed the back of it. So if you go up, his signature would still be on the back of it. 'Cause that was
wow,
face
that's
down.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's pretty neat.
That's great. Well done, Bern. That was a lovely journey through the scientific ages.
Welcome back home, Wade. I've missed you.
It's great to be here, mate. And can you clean up that shit in the corner?
Yeah, right.
Thank you to everyone who listens and follows us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and especially those who help us out with the Patreon. We once again, thank you so much, and we really appreciate. You can also see us on YouTube as well. Also putting up some videos now on YouTube, and also as well, if you miss the episodes and you kind of got nothing to do, you can also check them out on YouTube as well, because we upload the episodes to YouTube.
We're everywhere on the internet. Make
We
sure
are
you check
everywhere.
it out.
We are like a bad fart
Yeah,
after an Indian meal.
and you always want to share that, right?
You always want to share that. Thanks, guys.